Apology review. Today, we're going to be talking about what is quite possibly the worst apology in the history of apologies on YouTube, at least in the gun community. So, for those of you that aren't aware of what's going on, the Yankee Marshal basically accused Mr. Guns and Gear of being stolen valor or not telling the whole truth to some of his war stories or what he did in the military. Mr. Guns and Gear made a video bringing up his DD-214s and describing situations that he was in, proving, I guess, that he was in the military. And then the Yankee Marshal came out and made the absolute biggest stinker of an apology video that I've ever seen. So that'll get you going. Let's jump into the review. Before we get going, I want to say thank you to everyone that supports the channel, everyone that likes, comments, subscribes, everyone on Patreon. I want to specifically say thank you to Petar. You know, that's exactly how it's pronounced. It's not me mispronouncing that name. Mongoose, Controversy, Cold Kill 818, and Thickcock 45. Thank you to you guys who have been supporting the channel for so long. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. If you haven't checked, make sure that you are still subscribed. A lot of people have been reaching out to me lately saying that they've been unsubscribed by YouTube and had to go and resubscribe. So if that's happening to you, make sure you check on it, but let's hop into the video. Thank you. Now, we all know everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. I've owned up to those mistakes in the past. I've clarified my position, and I've learned from discussions. When someone makes a mistake, sometimes an apology is warranted, sometimes it isn't. But when you're going to apologize, I think that you should make sure you do it the right way, because otherwise it just makes it worse for yourself. We're going to be using the PewDiePie method to break down this apology from Yankee Marshal towards Mr. Guns and Gear and determine whether it was a good apology or not. And we are going to use the system that PewDiePie laid out in his rating YouTuber apology videos to determine what kind of score we're going to give it. Now, I'm going to give a supercut of PewDiePie's 4 steps for success when it comes to an apology, and then we'll start talking.
Now, what makes the perfect YouTube apology video? A couple things. There's a couple things. First off, the most important thing, you need to start off with a sigh. You need to tell your audience immediately that this is a heavy video to make and it's an extreme burden on your shoulders. Number 2, what you want to do is shift blame. Shift blame whatever you could do, okay? Never take responsibility. If you take responsibility, then that's admitting that you're wrong. And doing that, that's just impossible. Never admit that you were wrong. Rule number 3, play the victim. You want to make sure that people know that this has been a great inconvenience to you, okay? This has been a big problem for you. So you might want to bring up something like, let's say, I'm getting cyberbullied. Or if you're in deep trouble, what you want to do is you want to bring in death threats. You want to make a good apology video. Just be honest. Don't try and think that you can trick the internet, because you can't. People are smarter than you think, and they'll see through all this bullshit.
So I'm going to show you the clips from this video, and we're going to kind of react to it and break it down on why I think it's just absolutely horrible.
Hey, I want to take some time today to make a video here where I offer a very humble apology to another YouTuber. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong or when I said something that wasn't true. I got some information from a couple of different sources, one of which was a very reliable source that has given me very good information on some of the larger gun channels before, that Mr. Guns and Gear was a bit of a valor thief. Now, they didn't say he didn't serve in the military at all or anything. They very much alluded to the fact that maybe it isn't exactly the way he said it was. But, you know, after I said that, and when I did say it, I did make it very clear that I can't prove this. I don't even know if I believe this. This is just the information. And the only reason I was even curious is because Mr. Guns and Gear had made some claims about an act of war by one of the, Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, well, that's not anywhere near close to an act of war. I think someone who served in 2 branches of the service would know that. So that made me curious. And some other things that have been said in the past that I'm like, no, that's not true, and you should know that if you're in the Army.
Okay, so we got to break it down first. He did not lead with the exhausted sigh or the general primer of "this is hard for me." And we know that's important because you want to set the tone of "I'm apologetic, this is hard, I am sorry." He starts off with very much just, boom, hammering it in that this is not necessarily his fault, that he was given information from trusted sources and he's putting that blame onto them. So it's, you know, he didn't get the good sigh in, but he did go straight for number 2 really hard by saying, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. Shifting the blame from him to someone else. So he's got 1 for 2 already. So let's keep going.
But like I said, that's all just, hearsay and circumstance, etc. He immediately responded after that claim was made. And like I said, I made sure I said I couldn't prove it. He responded very quickly. He made a video saying he'd been falsely accused. He produced DD-214s. If you're not familiar with what DD-214s are, they look like this right here. And no, this is not my DD-214. This is for one Puffin Stuff HR, so HR Puffin Stuff, who apparently...
So at this point, he kind of gets to the discrediting the counterclaims. So he's not directly saying that Mr. Guns and Gear is lying, but he's showing this fake DD-214 as an example to say, oh, look, these are, it turns out you can make fake DD-214s. So I'm not saying it. I'm just asking the question, is Mr. Guns and Gear actually a military veteran? And so that's one of those things where this is already off on a bad foot. He's already shifted blame, and he's already trying to discredit the source for the blame that he's receiving. So, in terms of apology-wise, whether I think it's good versus whether it's shifting the blame and whatnot, he's doing good in that sense, I guess.
I kind of think this might be a fraud. This might be a forgery because I think everyone knows HR Puffin Stuff was actually a conscientious objector and a draft dodger, which is why he went on to host TV's children's programs. And I do find it kind of suspicious that the signing officer on this is Mayor McCheese. So like I said, I think this might be a forgery. But, it's easy to forge anything these days.
It's easy to forge anything these days. Excellent point. But why is that relevant now? It's almost as if the goal of this is not an apology, but to actually discredit the person who is countering his initial claims.
I put the claim out there saying, hey, this is what I've heard. He immediately responded and dispelled it. He wouldn't have even had to produce his DD-214s for me. He would have just had to say, no, it's not true. I would have taken his word for it. I really don't even see that as much of a big deal. I always get upset when these people do videos where they chase down some 20-year-old kid with, emotional issues and confront him as a VALOR thief because he's wearing a uniform and trying to get some attention because, he's not right up here.
This is a typical holier-than-thou stance to take. He's saying, oh, I don't think that it's even a big deal. He's shifting the blame off of himself by trying to make it seem like, oh, it's not, even if I did, it's not necessarily even that bad.
But like I said, I made a false claim. I am sorry for that. I did make sure to say when I was doing it that I couldn't prove it, so I have no problem apologizing for it. I humbly apologize. But having said that, I want to...
Now, those of us in the gun community are very aware of a certain type of statement, the but statement. So you might have missed it. Let's watch that back.
But like I said, I made a false claim. I am sorry for that. I did make sure to say when I was doing it that I couldn't prove it, so I have no problem apologizing for it. I humbly apologize. But having said that, I want to move on to the point here, a second point that I'm making today. Apparently, that whole high road argument when it comes to responding to me is bullshit. Because as soon as a claim was made that hurt your money, you responded. As soon as patrons started leaving your channel, as soon as people stopped using your links, there was a video up the next day. Just right off the bat. I don't even think I had to wait 24 hours. So you were pretty quick when the money was on the line. So that whole high road argument about defending the things you say on Instagram that aren't true, the lies you tell, the fear mongering you do, the profiteering, the promoting products that you know are inferior just for the cash, you won't defend those things not because you're taking the high road, but because actually defending those things would hurt your money.
Jesus, the audacity. He's straight up apologizing. I'm going to put that in quotes. Apologizing for making false claims, saying that he owns it, and saying that he is very humbly apologizing. The humbleness on this man. I think I'm pretty humble. I'm probably the most humble man in the world. But this guy, oh man, he takes the cake for the level of humbleness. After that humble apology, he goes on to claim that Mr. Guns and Gear is a shill, that he only cares about money, which you can make those claims. I'm not going to say that they are true or not. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I enjoy watching content and I understand the grind. Some people choose to make money off this as as their main living, and they're going to make money, and that's fine. They're very clear about them making the money off of it. it's up to the consumer to do their own research. But for him to then try to, after he's basically at this point making fun of Mr. Guns and Gear and trying to put more dirt on his name by saying, oh, you're taking the high road by not discussing the actual claims that I made about the stolen valor and naming me, but you're not going to take the high road about these other claims. This is a horrible, horrible apology.
Now, I thought you could have just easily said, hey, the stuff I posted is not true. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I believed what Fox News said, or I believed what, Glenn Beck said. And apparently someone was there and even gave video and photographic proof that they were there and what they were saying was happening wasn't happening. That would be what a man would have done. They would have apologized and said, sorry, I spread some false information.
How do you make what you are titling as a humble apology or declaring a humble apology and still try to make fun of someone and mock them? I truly it blows my mind that he can look at this and say that he's 100% in the right. It's just, whether you agree with the way that Mr. Guns and Gear makes money is a topic for just a different time. Whether you agree with what's going on in Chaz or Chop or whatever they want to call it, totally different conversation, nothing to do with this. If you make claims and then you try to apologize for those, but then you're trying to dilute that by saying that it doesn't matter, or that hey, look at these other things, you're just trying to distract people from what you actually said and what was actually wrong by yours, or what you actually did wrong.
Well, obviously you don't give a shit about the high road because you'll respond very quickly if it's something that hurts your money. So now what is it? I've given you another chance here. You can come talk to me, or I'll come talk to you, or you could find a third party channel that can moderate the two of us. We'll talk about your fear mongering.
I'd happily be that third party, but Jesus, this apology is just an absolute train wreck. This entire apology is basically just 7.5 minutes or 7 minutes of him trying to shift the blame and distract you from the fact that he made stolen valor claims, that he was honest about not knowing the legitimacy of the information, but really it's just him bashing Mr. Guns and Gear for 7 minutes straight. So to call this an apology, I mean, I know a thing or two about apologies, and this is not an apology.
It was a peaceful protest at the time. You were calling for them to rain fire down on them. That seems like a very statist position to me, and I thought you didn't like statists.
To then come out and to just bring up the statist argument, it's like when someone is losing an argument and they compare you to Hitler as their only reason for you being wrong. It's not a good argument. You're just trying to use a buzzword to make people believe what you're saying. It's just, all in all, this is just a horrible video, but we're going to suffer through the next minute.
But like I said, I apologize for spreading false information, but I made it very clear that most people don't believe me because I can't prove this, but some that did, and there's still some that do, because I still got emails today saying he's full of shit, blah, 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 and I'm like, hey, I don't care.
Back to the point. Number 2, the second most important thing that he could do. Shift the blame. He says, hey, don't believe me, but it's not my fault they believed me when I said it. It's not my fault that anybody took this information that I was putting out there and then believed it. It's all on them. It's the viewers. It's not me.
He gave his word that he's done everything he said he did, and I'll take him on his word. But I think this illustrates that it isn't about high road when it comes to you and defending the things you do. It's about money, money, money. So how about you prove that it's not about money, money, money? And I'm doing that intentionally to annoy people. How about you prove it's not just about the money, money, money? And sometimes it's about honor and integrity. And step up and defend your hypocrisy, defend the places where you were wrong, or apologize for them. Either one, that would be a whole lot more manly than I'm taking the high road, when we know you ain't about the high road.
It blows me away that someone can be so resolute in their opinions of saying, I'm apologizing, and claiming that they're apologizing while doing exactly what he did. All in all, I would have to give this initial apology a solid 5 out of 10. He did technically apologize, so we're giving him a few points for that. And he made sure to shift the blame off of himself and to make it not about him. He did everything he could to distract, disorient, and confuse. He didn't really bring up any sort of victimhood. He didn't make himself the victim in this situation, which I think he really could have scored a few extra points on the PewDiePie scale if he did that. But ultimately, he did follow some of the rules. We then had to subtract some points off because he tried to fool the internet with his backwards way of throwing bad information about there, trying to say, I didn't say that. I said that, you should be very critical of this information. But ultimately, he was the one that gave the information, so he has to take responsibility for that. So all in all, we're going to give this apology a 5 out of 10, which really, I could probably go even lower, but if we're going based on how sincere and how real it was, it's an absolute 0. But if we're going on the PewDiePie shift and disorient strategy, we're gonna give it a 5 out of 10. I wanna show you just the first few minutes of his the Yankee Marshals apology tour live stream that was about an hour and 11 minutes long. The first 5 minutes are so absolutely horrible. I have to include them in this video because it went live at basically the same time that the actual apology video did. So let's just watch this.
We are live. Sorry, I still a little out of sorts, but I just tore my shoulder fucking up. Someone in the chat said, I bet Yankee Marshall can't even do a push-up. And I was like, I bet I can still do a one-armed push-up. It just fucked my shoulder. Not from the push-up, from trying to put my hand behind my back. I should know better. I can't put my hand behind my back anymore.
So I want to touch back on rule number 1, start with the sigh. He made sure to correct his errors in the first video with this. He's starting right off as the victim. He's, man, my life is hard, things are bad. So we're going to give him a bonus point. We're going to bump that 5 up to a 6, and we'll go from there.
I can still do the push-up, but I have to tuck my hand like this. But I wanted to do an early chat today because I knew there's going to be a lot of people commenting on the video I made today, and it's gangbusters. My God, in the first half hour it's been up, it's made like 8,000 views. Videos don't get 8,000 views in the first half hour. But I just wanted to have a conversation here because I wanted to give a chance to the people that, that support Mr. Guns and Gear and love Mr. Guns and Gear to come in here and say all kinds of shitty things about me, just like give them a chance to do so on my video.
He's touching back on the play the victim. People are saying mean things. People are viewing this video and brigading it. So that's, we'll give him a bonus point for touching back on that. So now we're at 7 out of 10 points.
Now, what did Mr. Guns and Gear say? 1 minute. I don't know because I didn't watch his video. I just take his word for it that, what the other people are saying about him is wrong. I take his word. You have to take his word. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Because they show a DD214 or something, that it's, but that's, and then they get emotional, like a tear in their eye, we're supposed to take it all as gospel. You can say anything on the internet and prove anything on the internet.
Again, with the discrediting, he's going straight for it by saying he hasn't even watched the video, and then he's making claims that Mr. Guns and Gear was emotional and crying. I honestly didn't think that his video was that emotional. I watched the whole thing, but maybe I'm just, maybe I'm dumb. I don't know. We'll just start watching this again.
Thumbs down, that video was insane at 250. It had 125 before it actually went live. Just so it was at 0%, I think it was at 1% approval when it went live because there was like 125 negatives and 2 likes or 1 like. So it's slowly creeped up to like 22% positive now. But yeah, it's not, that video is not meant to have a positive rating because even though I do say sorry, I mean, the whole point of the video was to show it's like, wow, you reacted to that very quickly. But everything else, it seems like I'm taking the high road. Well, why did you take the high road now? I mean, I didn't offer any claims or any proof. And I even said in the video that it's probably not true. I can't prove this. I don't know if they're just out to get him or not. So I don't care what his response was. Like I said, I'll take his word for it.
Again, shifting the blame, saying, oh, I didn't say that. He's trying to be a bullshitter. But we all know if you make those claims, you made the claims. You can't just say, it's not my fault that you took the information that I put out there and then took it that way, when that's exactly what you said. So I don't really know where he's getting off here.
Although people are saying, like, why was he so emotional? I'm like, I don't know. Why was he so fucking emotional? I don't know. Maybe it's because it's easy to manipulate people through emotion. If that's what you want to do. You said sorry in a backhanded way. That's why. Well, no, I'm 100% sorry that, had to say it. Or that I even said it, but I'm thrilled that he responded, and I'm thrilled that it shows now that he is willing to respond, just only when it's money is on the line, because he lost a sub or 2 on Patreon, and that got him worked up. It's a little sad that he got that choked up. Yeah, why would you get that choked up? I don't understand that. It's like if someone came up to me and said you're a Valor thief, I'd be like, okay, whatever you fucking want to think, I don't care.
He's making statements on Mr. Guns and Gear's response without ever actually watching it himself. So I really this is just more rambling. I don't know where he's getting off with this.
I don't really fucking care. In fact, I think the Valor Thief videos are silly. You know, the ones where they go after, like, you know, 19-year-old kids wearing a uniform and be like, Valor Thief, you know, where'd you serve? Your pins are wrong. You know, I'm like, no, fucking leave them alone. Leave them alone. He was emotional in the vid because he was thinking about the lost patrons. That's possible. Or maybe it was just crocodile tears to manipulate people. I mean, that's easy to do. I mean, my grandfather didn't get emotional when he talked about the military, and he served in 3 fucking wars. You know, so I don't understand where all the emotion would come from. So, you know, you might be pissed. Pissed would be an emotion, but I don't even know why you would care. To be honest, why you would care that people say one thing about you or another. But I got to go here. I got to get to the questions and stuff.
Jesus, like, he's talking out his ass, and as someone who talks out their ass a whole lot, that was basically just him farting into the mic and in English. I don't get how he's having these opinions on something he's never watched for himself. For someone who claims to be all about good information, he's now spreading more horrible information based on something he's never seen, and it's just totally deflecting.
So let me get over here. But like I say, I did not watch his apology, but I have 100% accept his apology. I mean, not accept his apology. I didn't watch his response to before I did my apology, but I 100% accept his word, and I did apologize. I even took down the other video because why would I keep repeating it if I'm taking his word for it? I didn't take it down. I just made it private. So if you've got a link to it, you can go watch it if you want. And if you're a patron, you can definitely go watch it. It's still over there. But you know, why would I leave it up if it's not true? That was the main thing in the video. So, well, it wasn't. It actually was only a tiny part of that video. But you know, it would be unfair for me to keep repeating it, because what about people who would watch it, hear it, and then not even check to see if it was true? So, yeah.
Yeah, what if somebody got information, didn't check at all if it was true, and then started speculating on that? Almost like he is responding and speculating on Mr. Guns and Gear's response video when he's never seen it for himself. Interesting, right?
So I can't just keep repeating it. That wouldn't be fair, because like I said, I accept his word for it. I mean, he produced DD214s, right? Like in my video, I know you can't fake those. Like the ones here for HR Puff and stuff, signed by Mayor McCheese. It's really easy to fake a DD214, people. Let's just remember that. And it's also real easy to cry crocodile tears. But that's not the point. That's not the whole point here. I'm not in any way saying that he faked his DD214s. I'm just saying that his word should be good enough. But how can his word be good enough if we know he lies about other things?
At this point, I just got to cut it off. This man is doing the classic, I'm not the one saying it, I'm just asking the question. I'm just pointing out that DD214s can be faked. I'm not saying that Mr. Guns and Gear faked his DD214s, even though I think he is a liar, or he's lied a lot in the past. And, you know, DD214s could be easily faked. In fact, I easily faked this one. But I'm not saying Mr. Guns and Gear faked this one. Jesus, God, like, the man is just, I don't get where he's coming from for him to have this horrible of a take. I've had some horrible takes in the past, and I've owned up to them after having honest conversations with people. I think this guy is just so far up his own butt that he doesn't realize that his shit stinks. I just truly don't understand what's going on here. This was quite possibly the worst apology video in the history of apology videos, and I've watched a good amount of them, and I've partaken in some of my own. This is just a train wreck through and through. The Yankee Marshal, honestly, he's a clown. I think he's a clown. But you guys know the drill. As always, have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.